Here's the one thing you should not be doing if you're trying to predict ovulation, and I promise it's going to surprise you. You guys are spending a fortune on ovulation tests, on a bunch of fancy devices to somehow catch ovulation in the act, especially when you have irregular cycles. But the reality is you may be wasting a lot of time, resource, and causing yourself a lot of stress. People are spending a lot of resources trying to catch ovulation in the act, when if you have a regularly occurring cycle, you probably don't need to. The reality is if you have a regularly occurring cycle, you can count back 14 days from your cycle and loosely predict ovulation, and then have intercourse 3 days before ovulation, 1 day before ovulation, 1 day after ovulation, and 3 days after ovulation. If you do that, it's almost impossible to miss your window. Now, if you have an irregular cycle, it is harder to predict ovulation. But again, instead of spending money on a bunch of fancy devices or strips, invest your resources on becoming healthier, on figuring out what are the underlying reasons that are causing your cycle to be irregular, and there's probably several. Identify what those are and work. Use all of your time and resources trying to optimize that so that you can have a regular cycle, and then do the same thing 3 days before, 1 day before, 1 day after, 3 days after. While you're working on getting to that regular cycle, don't use the kind of ovulation strips that are encased in plastic. So bad for the environment, and it's a big fat ripoff. You can get ours from Conceivable, 100 ovulation strips for $15. The link is in the profile. Got questions? Join my live at 5 or leave them in the comments.